with the rise of companies like WeWork and the increase of communal co-working spaces, what's your ideal work environment? Is the beige corporate cubicle a thing of the past?
Yeah, collaborative work environments, and I run the Da Vinci Institute. We have our own co-working space.
Mm,
So we have 39 mostly startup companies that are in our space, and it depends a lot on the personality of people that are in a co-working community. Some of them want relatively more privacy. Some of them are fine with relatively less. In our co-working community, people still like the to have offices with locked doors.
right.
They have two or three people working in an office, and that shared environment seems to work pretty well. But each community has its own personality, and so understanding the personalities of all the individuals, some of them will be perfectly fine having the beige cubicle there. Um, I I I thought it would kind of suck the life out of the
Yeah.
people that work in those environments, but
It
uh,
did me when I was in one of those. So,
yeah, but some people like to have pieces of that, dividers and stuff that separate our time and energy,
right,
and having personal space matters as well. Being able to put up pictures to your kids and grandkids, things
right.
like that. Um, so I think it's a kind of a modified version of what we've been through in the past, and I think it's a constant source of experimentation. I've been um, speculating on this idea that sometime in the near future, as we move into the driverless era, that a lot of people are going to choose to have their office being mobile. So their office is in a driverless mobile office that drives around a city. And
Mm,
if you have a meeting with somebody, you'll stop by and pick up that person and drive
mm.
around some more at the meeting. And so you have changing landscape outside your window. Is that a waste of energy? Probably. Um, we're not at the point where we have access to squanderable amounts of energy, but
Right,
that may be coming in the future.
right.
And so we'll just look at these things quite differently in the future.
Mm,
If you have a cooking school as an example, and you're driving around picking up students and dropping them off at the end of your class, that might be a far better use of resources than having some stationary building that's not used most of the time.
they'd be cooking in the car.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
why not? Wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be a ton of fun. That's like it sounds like an RV road trip, but for school.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
I think,
intriguing.
see, I think we're trying to add elements of excitement and entertainment into our lives. So it's all about the experience. And so how can we increase the experience level with each of these activities? I think we're constantly looking for new and different ways to do that.
Right. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm at a co-working space right now. This is a little bit more of a niche one. It's smaller. I got to choose it. I chose it based on price. It was very affordable for my boss, and it put me in a new part of New York that I wanted to see because I'm from here and I like mixing it up and seeing new places. So there's a lot of benefits, but then one of the downsides is, I'm a little lonely. It's not the most popular co-working space, so there's not tons of people or tons of people my age, and nobody from my team is here. So, it's a balance of autonomy and loneliness. We're social creatures.
Yeah, there's always a trade-off.
Right. Right. So for a big company who's maybe looking to innovate, maybe looking to shift up the way their office is laid out, for a variety of reasons, who do you think is responsible for understanding how the employees feel? Is that a direct manager role? Is that an HR role? Who finds out what the employees want and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's all based on the individual team and probably the direct manager. Um, I think we're giving HR far too much influence on the way companies are being formed right now.
Mm,
Yeah, Um, see the way Hollywood has worked for years whenever a movie project come into play, it attract writers, directors, camera guys, makeup people, actors, and actresses. They all come together for this project. As soon as it's over, they they all leave and they form around new projects. It's very organic in nature. Now, um, it seems like the business world is moving into this era where the internet's such a sophisticated communication system. It enables us to align the needs of a business with the talent of individuals in far more precise ways. So rather than hiring somebody full time, we bring them on for 2 months or 2 weeks or 2 days or even 2 hours. It depends on the needs of the business. So the key thing that we're not teaching people today is nobody's teaching people how to become freelancers. We're all having to learn that by the seat of our pants. And to be an effective freelancer, you need to know everything from how to set up your business entity, how to negotiate deals, how to price your services, how to be marketing and sales, and how to find the insurance, and there's just a variety of topics, and do the networking. And we're not teaching people how to do that. And I think we're missing out in a big way by forcing people to do that all on their own. So there's like I don't know, 1.5 million people in the U.S. that are freelancers making over 100,000 a year. And so if you want to break into that group of high-paid freelancers, you have to hang out with other high-paid freelancers.
Right.
So that we don't have the type of training that trains people to do that. Now, colleges don't want to train people to do that, because as soon as they take the freelancer course, then they drop out of college.
They don't stick around very far after that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but then I think that also speaks to freelancers a little bit, right? They're kind of the type of people who are self-reliant. They have an idea of their own, and they want to start their own business. I mean, every a self-taught entrepreneur is a freelancer essentially, in a certain sense, until they start making money and building their business. Is it something just innate with people? Are these skills we can teach, or is it just some people work better solo, some people don't, or some people
right.
freelance better?
Yeah. So there's the typical scenario is somebody graduates from college and they can't find a job.
Right.
And so after a couple months, they pick up a project, and they pick up another project and another project. And before they realize it, they're working as a freelancer. They're doing it begrudgingly, thinking that the world owed them a full-time job, never realizing that this could be the preferred lifestyle if somebody taught them all the ins and outs of becoming an effective freelancer. And so this is, in my mind, for a lot of people, this is the ideal way to go, because you could say no to the things you don't want to do, and say yes to the things you're good at, and then you can control your own destiny.
Right.
And that's the direction I think that most people want to go.
Right.
It's just that we're not teaching people to do that. Now, I think the normal business world is moving into this hybrid version where they're bringing on more and more contractors and freelancers to fill in the gaps. And so this is the HR issue, that the whole hiring process has become so onerous that HR is given so much responsibility in the hiring and firing process, basically because they need a scapegoat in case something goes wrong. But it's important, I think, to have the fluidity of business to make things happen quicker. I found out a few weeks ago that if you hire somebody in Switzerland, that the people in Switzerland have to give a 3-month notice before they can quit their job.
Wow.
That the business world in the U.S. doesn't work at that pace. So
it's a little snappier than that. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny because you're describing me a little bit. I graduated college. I didn't have a job. I jumped around to a couple different things, freelancing essentially.
Yeah.
It was more sort of temporary part-time gigs. I guess we would have to refine what we mean exactly by freelance. But I mean, there are some issues with freelance, especially in America. I mean, none of the freelance positions I was at offered me healthcare. Granted, I don't need it currently because I can still be on my parents' plan, but that does raise an issue for freelancers. Most places won't give you many benefits. It will just be sort of a
Right.
that pay. And then also in terms of taxes, for freelancing and independent contractors has become one of the areas of least compliance in U.S. tax law. And as more people become freelancers and independent contractors, we may need sort of a tax shift, a redoing of the tax code, something like that.
Right. Right. It becomes enormously complicated to do your books when you're a freelancer.
Right.
It shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is. It's needlessly complicated.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I've been writing this column on the idea of a transaction,
Uh,
uh, the anatomy of a transaction, and the easier we make things, um, the in the transaction world, the banks are actually in trouble. They just don't know it yet
mm,
because the um, a transaction done by a bank is very similar to a transaction done by a tech company,
mm,
and so when do they cross the line? I mean, Google's already offering checking accounts, so
right. They
yeah.
want to be the next big bank.
Yeah, so what exactly is a bank? And
Right.
our whole world is governed by transactions, and we have literally um, trillions of transactions that happen every day, and each one is a tax point decision of, is this deductible and is this not,
Right.
which is such an insane way to run a tax code.
It certainly is. I'm not looking forward to tax season. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, well, it's such an intrusive form of, I don't know, trying to monitor things. It quite frankly, it just doesn't make sense on
Mm,
so many levels. Um, so anyway, I get on my soapbox every once in a
right.
while.
It's not a bad soapbox to stand on, Definitely something there.